Dead. RMI is 9 o'clock. The news with Eris Stewart. Good morning, Eris.
Good morning, Sophie.
We start with the headlines.
Chagos Sovereignty Treaty brings nationality clarifications as UK issues updated guidelines. Inter-college games back to boost youth development as Education Minister insists sport is key to discipline, friendships and drug prevention. Public debt hit 608 billion rupees in 10 years, while Prime Minister outlines sharp rise in national debt during parliamentary session. Government targets corruption with creation of horse racing integrity division. In world news, US begins troop withdrawal from Los Angeles. And in sports, badminton finals highlight rising stars as 84 student athletes face off in fast-paced competition at Rosehill Centre. We begin this morning with an important development concerning the Chagos Archipelago. The British government has released new guidelines on the nationality rights of Chagosians ahead of the upcoming entry into force of the treaty between the United Kingdom and Mauritius on the sovereignty of the Chagos Archipelago, including Diego Garcia. One key clarification: the current rights of Chagosians with regard to British citizenship remain unchanged. Those who already hold British nationality or are eligible under the 2022 provisions may continue to benefit from those same rights. However, once the treaty comes into effect, the Chagos Archipelago will no longer be considered a British overseas territory. This means Chagosians will no longer be able to claim British citizenship through a connection to the British Indian Ocean Territory. Children born after the treaty's entry into force will also no longer inherit this status from their parents, but they will still be eligible to apply for British nationality under the rules of the 2022 law. Archipelago will be transferred to Mauritius, while the joint US-UK military base on Diego Garcia will remain operational. And moving into inter-college news, it is proven fact that sport has a positive effect on discipline and respect, and more importantly, encourages the formation of new friendships. For the Minister of Education, Mahen Gangaprasad, the return of inter-college competitions will go a long way to ensuring a better future for Mauritian youth and will also contribute to the fight against drugs. He also expressed his desire to see more sports competitions organized in the future. Details from Minister Mahen Gangaprasad, voiced over by Nirma.
For quite some time, we haven't seen this kind of atmosphere in the stands. Young people with their drums, ravans, and full of energy cheering on their friend during a football match or any other sport. It's the kind of spirit we need to revive everywhere. It's great to see schools giving young people the chance to express themselves, whether through sport, culture, music or dance. These are powerful antidotes to social issues like drugs abuse or bullying. They also help build bridges for friendship between students. That's why schools have been encouraged to organize as many sporting activities as possible, both within their institutions and between schools, to create more opportunities for young people through tournaments and events. We're expecting to have swimming pools built in schools with the support of Japanese government. Previously, 4 pilot schools had swimming pools. But this time it will be a different model, more affordable and adapted to current needs. We are waiting assistance from Japan to launch swimming lessons in primary school according to the country.
And moving to Parliament, public debt has risen from 238 billion rupees to 608 billion rupees in 10 years. This was reported by the Prime Minister to Parliament. In real terms, after adjustment for the GDP deflator, it reached approximately 382 billion in 2024. Shabniz Uzia Waidali tells us more.
The Prime Minister stated that public sector debt in nominal terms escalated from 238 billion rupees in 2014 to 608.2 billion rupees in 2024, more than doubling in 10 years. In real terms, adjusted for the GDP deflator, it stood at around 382 billion rupees in 2024. The public debt to GDP ratio, which was 59.5% in 2014, surged to 87.4% in 2024, significantly exceeding the legal ceiling. The head of government described this debt level as unsustainable. He cited the IMF's 2025 report, which classifies Mauritius as being at high risk of sovereign stress. He also highlighted that interest payments on the debt amounted to 26.1 billion rupees this year, making it the second largest public expenditure item after pensions. The Prime Minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to gradually reduce the debt to GDP ratio to 60%, aiming to preserve a fiscal stability and protect the national economy.
The former horse racing division is suspected of having collaborated closely with influential figures in the gaming sector to the point of tarnishing the image of horse racing in Mauritius. As a result, a reform was passed in early July, giving rise to the Horse Racing Integrity Division. The Prime Minister outlined the details in Parliament yesterday. Anjali Siratan Pulchan and Shabniz Uzia Waidali tell us more.
Answering a parliamentary question, the Prime Minister outlined the reasons behind this reform. He said that the previous structure had created a close and problematic relationship with stakeholders in the gambling sector, affecting public trust in horse racing and contributing to the withdrawal of Mauritius' oldest racing stable, Gajador. The new division falls under the Gambling Regulatory Authority and was set up through a recent legislative amendment passed in early July. Recruitment for various positions was carried out transparently through expressions of interest published in newspapers and on the GOA's website. An interview panel made up of GOA board members conducted the selection process, which included strict eligibility screening. Successful applicants were offered contracts starting July 4, 2025. A due diligence exercise was also completed by the GOA's AML CFT unit, involving checks with the Supreme Court, MRA, criminal records, and international databases. Selected candidates are now required to submit their certificate of character. The government says this is part of a broader effort to revive horse racing and bring racegoers back to the Champ de Mars.
And in other news today, we bring you the powerful and courageous story of a man who has chosen to turn his back on drugs. For some time now, he has been undergoing rehabilitation at the Idris Goumani Center for the prevention and treatment of alcohol and drug addiction. Step by step and with the unwavering support of his family, he's working to break free from the vicious cycle of substance abuse. He shares that at the height of his addiction, he was spending between 500 and 3,000 rupees a day, sometimes even more depending on what he had in his pocket. But today he's made a different choice, the choice to fight and to take back control of his life. And he's not alone. Each month, around 30 individuals walk through the doors of the center, seeking help to overcome their addiction. A powerful gesture and proof that even after the fall, the road to recovery remains possible. Let's listen to more on this with commentary by Didier Rose.
I started using drugs about 10 years ago. I've already stopped 2 or 3 times, and I also went to a rehab center. In the beginning, I started by smoking heroin. Before that, it was cannabis. Physically, it did not affect me much at first, but heroin addiction is much more stronger. For that, I lost a lot. Eventually, I started using it intravenously. It's been a deep experience with drug, and honestly, there's nothing good in it. My parents have helped me a lot to get out of it.
And it's 9:10. You're listening to RM1. We now move to international news, where the U.S. Secretary of Defense has ordered the withdrawal of half of the 4,000 National Guard troops sent to Los Angeles to protect federal property and agents, the Pentagon reported on Tuesday. The governor of California is calling on Donald Trump to end this charade and send back the rest of the troops. And in sports news, the athletics events kick off today, one of the highlight disciplines of the major school sports gathering inter-college. The competition begins at 9:30, with students set to represent their colleges and regions over the next 3 days. And if tradition holds, the stands are expected to be filled with lively support and school spirit. As you may know, 5 sporting disciplines are on the program. Today we turn our attention to badminton, where the finals were held yesterday at the National Badminton Centre in Rosehill. A total of 84 players competed across 3 categories, with some delivering solid confirmation of their talent and others emerging as promising new revelations. That's all from me this morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned to the intermediate playlist until 10 a.m.